The abyss was a realm of absolute black. 12 hours ago, the submersible Triton had detached from its mothership, the RV Orion, and begun its slow, painstaking descent into the Cascadia subduction zone. Inside the cramped cockpit, Dr. Eris Thorne, the mission's lead geologist, watched the sonar display, his eyes tracing the jagged lines of the seabed nearly 5 miles below. "Pressure at 98% of operational limits," Ben Carter, the sub's pilot and engineer, announced, his voice calm despite the numbers. "Life support is green across the board. We're officially deeper than any human has been in this trench." Beside him, Dr. Ava Rostova, the team's biologist and communications expert, adjusted her headset. "Surface link is getting noisy, Ben. We're on our own down here." The only sounds were the gentle hum of the life support, the occasional creak of the titanium hull adjusting to the immense pressure, and the static-laced silence from the world above. Outside the thick quartz viewport, the Triton's powerful floodlights cut through the darkness, illuminating a blizzard of marine snow, the slow, constant rain of organic detritus from the upper ocean. It was a dead, lonely world. Their mission was simple: collect geological samples and map a section of the trench that had remained stubbornly mysterious on all previous surveys. It was Eris who saw it first, a flicker on the forward sonar. Not an anomaly in the rock, but something on it. "Ben, bring us to a dead stop," Eris said, his voice sharp, cutting through the monotonous quiet. He leaned closer to his screen. "Scan the area directly ahead, max resolution." "What is it?" Ava asked, turning from her own console. "I don't know," Eris murmured. "It's structured. Too structured." On the screen, among the chaotic, natural formations of the trench floor, lay a shape. It was long, impossibly smooth, and partially buried under centuries of silt. It had none of the jagged randomness of the surrounding geology. It looked manufactured. "Ben, can you get an external camera on that?" Eris's heart began to beat faster. "On it," Ben replied, his fingers dancing over the controls. The submersible's external arm camera whirred to life. The view on the main screen shifted from the digital sonar rendering to a live video feed. The floodlights swung, piercing the gloom, and then they all saw it. It wasn't a rock formation. It was metal. Dark, non-reflective, and covered in geometric patterns that seemed to absorb the light. The object was immense, its visible section easily the length of a football field before it disappeared into the crushing dark. There were no seams, no rivets, no sign of construction. It looked as if it had been grown, not built. A stunned silence filled the cockpit. They were looking at something that had no right to be there. A silent, colossal artifact resting in one of the most inaccessible places on Earth. "My God," Ava whispered, her voice barely audible. "That's not ours." Suddenly, a low, resonant hum vibrated through the Triton's hull. It wasn't a mechanical sound. It felt deeper, more organic. On Ava's communication console, a new signal appeared, overriding the static. It wasn't a radio wave or a sonar ping. It was something else entirely, a complex, rhythmic pulse that seemed to speak directly to the base of their skulls. The artifact wasn't resting. It was waking up. The hum intensified, a bone-deep vibration that seemed to bypass their ears entirely. The signal on Eva's console resolved into a complex, shifting waveform, beautiful and unnerving. It wasn't sound, it was a direct broadcast of something. "I'm seeing a cascade of neural activity on the biofeed," Eva said, her eyes wide. "Not from us. It's reading us, and it's responding." As she spoke, Eris flinched, his hand flying to his temple. "Did you see that?" "See what?" Ben asked, his knuckles white as he gripped the controls. "A flash. A memory? I saw a sky with 2 suns," Eris stammered, confused. Then Eva gasped, "I saw it too. and a city, not made of steel, but something like coral, glowing from within. The broadcast wasn't just data, it was sensory information. The alien consciousness, ancient and vast, was trying to communicate the only way it could by projecting raw thoughts and images directly into their minds. They weren't just observing the artifact, they were in a telepathic conversation with it. The hum wasn't a sign of aggression, it was a greeting, a desperate, lonely greeting from the bottom of the world. For the next hour they sat in silence, bearing witness. The ship, which they now understood to be a library of immense scale, flooded their minds with visions. They saw its world, vast red-leaved forests, oceans of liquid methane under the twin suns, and creatures that moved with an elegance that was both alien and beautiful. They felt the collective consciousness of its creators, a sense of peace, curiosity, and profound connection to their planet. Eva, with her background in biology and complex systems, was the most receptive. She began to see patterns in the flow of information. It wasn't random, it was a structured tour. "It's showing us who they were," she whispered, tears streaming down her face, though she didn't seem to notice. "They weren't warriors. They were gardeners, thinkers, artists." The experience was intoxicating and heartbreaking. They were watching a ghost, a perfect recording of a civilization long gone. The ship wasn't just a piece of technology, it was the last will and testament of an entire species. Their communion with the silent ship was shattered by a new voice, this one sharp and human, cutting through the static on the comms. "Submersible Triton, this is Admiral Marcus Thorne, U.S. Navy. Do you read me?" The voice was crisp and authoritarian, using a secure channel they didn't know they had. Ben's hands froze over the controls. Eva ripped off her headset as if it had burned her. "Admiral," Ben finally stammered, We were having comms issues. We've made a discovery." "We know what you found, son." The Admiral's voice was cold steel. "Your mission is now under my command. You will not attempt any further contact with the object. You will maintain your position and await the arrival of the recovery vessel Aegis. Acknowledge." The blood drained from Eris's face. Their scientific expedition was a front. They hadn't found the object by chance. They were sent here as bait. The Navy wasn't funding them for geological samples. They were funding them to see if the artifact was still active, and they had just confirmed it for them. As if sensing the hostile new presence, the ship's communication changed. The peaceful memories vanished, replaced by images of terror and destruction. A new presence entered the visions, a swarm of darkness, a fleet of jagged, weaponized ships that blotted out the twin suns. They saw the beautiful coral cities burn. They felt the collective scream of the alien race as their world was consumed by an enemy that was relentless, pitiless, and absolute. This wasn't just a library, it was a lifeboat, an ark launched in the final moments of a civilization, carrying a record of their existence, and it was showing them why it had fled. It was a warning. A shadow had fallen over their world, and this ship had run from it for millennia, finally finding refuge in the crushing silence of Earth's abyss. "It's not just hiding," Eris said in a voice trembling. "It's terrified. It's been running from something for a very, very long time."
"The Aegis is a military recovery sub," Ben said, pulling up schematics on a secondary screen. "Armed. They're not here to help us. They're here to take that ship and us along with it." "We can't let them," Eva insisted, her eyes glowing with a newfound fire. "This isn't a weapon. It's the last survivor of a genocide. Handing it over to the military, it's a desecration." "They'll override our controls remotely as soon as they're in range. We'll be passengers," Ben countered. "Then we sever the link," Eris said, looking at Ben. It was a crazy idea. Disabling their remote connection to the surface meant cutting their only lifeline. Ben nodded grimly. "It means bypassing the main command bus. If I screw it up, Life support could fail, but it's possible. With the Admiral's voice demanding updates on the secure channel, Ben got to work, pulling open a panel and exposing a nest of fiber optic cables. In the crushing dark, miles beneath the surface, the crew of the Triton made their choice. They were no longer just scientists, they were guardians. With the remote link severed, they were truly alone. Eva closed her eyes and reached out with her mind, focusing on the alien consciousness. The communication was clearer now, more direct. She learned that the ship's crew was a Gestalt intelligence, billions of minds uploaded into the ship's crystalline matrix. But the long sleep and the recent awakening had taken a toll. Their consciousness was fading like a dying star. The ship, which had called itself the Wanderer, needed a new pilot, a new mind to merge with its systems, to guide it and maintain its precious cargo of memories. It wasn't asking for a navigator, it was asking for a successor. Then it sent a final, chilling warning. The enemy that had destroyed its world, the Swarm, was not gone. They were patient hunters. The Wanderer's awakening, however brief, was like a flare in the dark. The enemy would know where it was. They would come. The warning wasn't about a threat from the past. It was a prophecy for Earth's future. A new shape appeared on the sonar, descending rapidly. The Aegis. It was larger than the Triton, sleeker and brutally functional. It looked like a shark built of military-grade steel. It settled on the seabed 100 yards away, with its own powerful floodlights cutting through the dark and glinting off the Wanderer's hull. "Triton, this is Commander Valerius of the Aegis." A new voice, hard and impatient, came over the general frequency. "You have disobeyed a direct order from an admiral. Surrender control of your submersible immediately, or we will disable you by force." Two robotic arms extended from the Aegis, not with scientific claws, but with tools that looked suspiciously like plasma cutters and grappling hooks. They were prepared to carve the alien ship out of the seafloor if they had to. The tense standoff began. Two tiny human vessels arguing over a godlike relic in a place no human was ever meant to be.
Before Ben could even reply to the threat, the Wanderer acted. The low hum returned, but this time it built to an incredible crescendo. The geometric patterns on its hull flared with brilliant blue light. A wave of pure energy, visible even in the water, pulsed outwards from the ship. It wasn't an explosion, it was a precise, controlled burst. The Aegis's lights flickered and died. Its systems went dark. The ship was completely disabled, a dead husk on the ocean floor. The Wanderer had defended them. But the effort was too much. The light on the alien ship's hull faded, its patterns going dark one by one. The telepathic presence in their minds grew faint, a final dying whisper. It sent one last packet of information directly to Eva's mind. Not a memory, not a warning, but a string of data, a star chart, and a single precise set of coordinates pointing to a small, unremarkable star in a galaxy millions of light years away. It was its destination, its home. Then there was only silence. The great ancient consciousness was gone. The energy pulse had damaged the Triton as well. Main power was failing, and they had just enough battery life for one of two options: begin the slow 12-hour ascent to the surface, or power up the deep space transmitter for a single high-energy broadcast. They knew what awaited them on the surface: arrest, interrogation, and a government cover-up that would bury the truth forever. The Wanderer, the story that's people, and its vital warning would be lost. Eva looked at Aris, then at Ben. No words were needed. Ben rerouted the last of their power to the transmitter.
Eva loaded the coordinates and a compressed file of everything they had seen. The twin suns, the burning cities, the face of the enemy. To whoever is listening, this is Dr. Eva Rostova of the submersible Triton. We are not alone. We have a warning. They hit send. A concentrated beam of data shot up from the abyss, aimed at the heavens, destined for every radio telescope and SETI array on the planet. They had leaked the greatest secret in human history. Then killed the power, plunging them into darkness, save for the faint emergency lights. "Okay," he said softly. "Now we go up." As the Triton began its slow ascent, leaving the dead military sub and the silent alien ark behind, they didn't know what they would face. A court-martial? A prison cell? Or a world that had been changed forever by their message? All they knew was that in the crushing eternal night of the abyss, they had stood guardian and had given a lost civilization one final voice.